not the same. It's not as strong as it usually is going up against a Bayern side that has very little weaknesses, if any. So what are we looking for in this match? Who do you think has the stronger side coming into this one?
Well, you just alluded to there, you've got a massive contrast in styles. This is a machine against moments. This is control against chaos. They could not be a greater contrast between the two. So I'm fascinated to see how it works out. They couldn't be more different, these teams, in their actual approach.
Who do you think has more pressure to advance here?
Manager-wise or team-wise, in some ways the obvious answer is Arbeloa, because rookie manager, looks like the league has gone, and let's be honest, he's clinging on to his job, isn't he? But, as you say, it's Real Madrid in the Champions League. And then you start thinking, weight of expectation. Because he's resting players because they're 13 points clear. I've forgotten how many. They're so far clear in the Bundesliga. They might as well give them the trophy now, but not bother with the celebration. The weight of expectation could hang heavy on their shoulders. And going out last year against Inter,
they're 9 points clear.
9 points.
Now,
clear,
if you strip the names and the logos off of these teams and you just look at the form that they're in, the team on the right-hand side over there has more pressure to advance. Their season has not been good.
Yeah. No.
They're the better football team that in this sample size of the season, you would expect them to advance.
Ordinarily, if you strip the badges away, you'd say to your team, you say, listen, this team, they've lost this, this, and this. Look how they lost to a relegation fighting team at the weekend. Can't defend, da-da-da-da-da. However, the big problem he's got is that.
Yeah.
That's your problem. And that throws all logic and common sense out the window.
I think the thing for Bayern fans, and talking to actually a couple Bayern fans in Munich, history is against Bayern Munich, right? We've seen Bayern Munich sides come into this tie, and from a mentality standpoint, you think they're about to go over the edge, and then that big badge casts a massive shadow. And so when you look at how big and how much of a machine Bayern Munich has, and they really have been, if they don't beat Real Madrid, their season, in my opinion, is defined by whether they beat 100%. Real Madrid or not. That'll define how we look at this team. That'll define the legendary status we're ready to give to this team.
And that's the definition of pressure, right? Real Madrid beats Bayern Munich, and they still need to come up with the Champions League to win it all for them to their season really be defined. If they lose, it's already a bad season. It just gets worse. For them, a very hopeful season turns into utter devastation. That's pressure.
It's madness, though, isn't it? How we're turning the pressure on them. They're the best.
They're the better football team. They're the better football team. And when you look at Real Madrid, they're in a difficult spot.
Definitely. If we were to do a pressure meter for Bayern, I think that thing would break. But let's do a panic meter, Nico, a vibe meter, shall I say, for Real Madrid. And where you're going to put the... Did you come up with these?
Not me.
You didn't come up with... So we have King Swag.
That was all Jeff.
Bailando, gaining steam.
Ayúdenle.
What is that?
Help them.
On the brink, and Ibiza is calling.
Okay, all right. So let's take a bigger picture here before we start breaking down the nitty-gritty. Real Madrid's season, good or bad so far? You can only pick one. Bad. So clearly, it's from here forward. Real Madrid have a gap with Barcelona that is now 7 points. A gap with 8 matches remaining that has never been overturned in the history of La Liga. You're out of Copa del Rey. Your only realistic title is Champions League, where you're going up against a team that has been better than you for most of the season. And we're speaking strictly on football terms. To me, I'm putting Real Madrid on the brink. So much hinges on this tie for them. Real Madrid doesn't often panic in these scenarios, which is fine. That's why we called it a vibe meter and not a panic meter. And beating Bayern Munich can slowly take that off. And not only that, the ironic part about Ibiza calling is that once it goes to King Swag, Ibiza calling ends up on this side of the celebratory side of things.
Are we doing them a disservice? They absolutely dismantled Manchester City. It might not be a vintage Manchester City, but they're a side to be respected.
Yeah. So I want to go back to something that you said, and I think you were right in challenging me when I said it doesn't matter about Mallorca, right? Mallorca does matter. I think that's why there's the feeling right now going into this of it being on the brink. We don't know which Real Madrid side you're going to get. I think that a lot of Real Madrid fans in Champions League only, if you just take Champions League into context for what you say, I think that they feel like, given the history, they feel like they might be somewhere in between here. But the feeling over their entire season, I get it. Why you say
Real
on the
Madrid
brink.
fans are probably thinking that they are gaining steam at the
Yeah.
moment, and I don't put that against them. Because Real Madrid, right now, the fans go, we're all in on Champions League. We can't do anything in La Liga, Copa del Rey's done. Champions League is our thing because Champions League has always been our thing. But I look at the way that they play, I put them on the brink, Jeff.
Hey, that should have been on the beach in Mallorca. That's where they were at the weekend.
If this was a Jeff meter, all of them would just be Ibiza is calling. Doesn't matter where you go. But let's take a look at some storylines to watch coming into this game. Lahoud, kick it off. What's the biggest thing you're looking at here?
Yeah, the most obvious thing for me coming into this is what is going to be the Kylian Mbappe and Jude Bellingham effect. It does have an impact. Some people might argue on Vinny, but I see him having an impact on the supporting cast. The one thing that I've seen change under Arbeloa is that the supporting cast has stepped up. Fede has stepped up, Arthur has stepped up, and Jude, the big question is it going to be Thiago? Is it going to be Jude? And is Arthur Güler going to lose his space and place in the team? Because that's what often happens when Jude comes in.
That's all very well, my friend. And I think they're fine going that way. They're fine going that way. It's what's coming the other way that is the problem. When you look at Bayern Munich, when you look at that front four, Kane we think is going to play, him dropping deep. Elise, Diaz, Gnabry. Now, those would give you fullbacks. Carreras and Trent, likely to be the fullbacks. They went missing at the weekend. They were in Magaluf. They were in one of the bars that I know very well. Okay, so that gives them a problem. But
I put stuff on your tab at Magaluf.
These two are so clever. They don't just hit the fullbacks; they come inside. So that creates a problem. And then you've got Lamar and Stanisic bombing on as well.
These guys are simply extraordinary. And for me, it's how Álvaro Arbeloa deals with this. All of the decisions that you mentioned, Lahoud. Do you play Jude? Do you play Pitach, who you've gone with for the last several games? He hasn't lost in Champions League.
He's giving it a thumbs up. Like he's giving his answer.
And I think for him, no one's going to remember how many games he lost already if he keeps on progressing in the Champions League. But to progress in the Champions League, you need to show a little bit of savvy. You did show it actually against Jose Mourinho and against Pep Guardiola. That's not nothing. You beat one of the two legacy managers over the last 15 years in European football, and now you're going up against a new up-and-coming manager in Vincent Kompany that has given this team identity, that has massively improved this team from last year, and hopefully Urbic's not in goal.
Bayern fans will freak out.
But this is a real big one, because for as much as the swing could go in favor of Álvaro Arbeloa, it could also be the nail in the coffin. And that's why so much hinges on this game for Real Madrid that just throws logic out of the equation.
And another thing to add to all these storylines is also the yellow cards, right? So Real Madrid has several players that if they are to get just one more yellow card, that they will not be there in the second leg of this match. So huge look. I think Bayern only has two players, but taking a look at the starting lineup for both of these sides, walk us through what we'll be seeing on the pitch.
So for me, when you look at Bayern, and I know so much is made about Bayern and how they play, so I'm going to start with them. Bayern Munich, they're going to high press. So Dayot Upamecano, he didn't play in the match against Freiburg. His position, I mean, there's times where he's going to be dropping in almost all the way there. And so with their high line, that means transition opportunities are going to be there for Vinny Jr., Kylian Mbappe, and also if Stanisic plays, look for the run like we saw against Man City where Fede Valverde will be getting in. I think his freedom that he has, that could be something that exposes Bayern. And the only other kryptonite that the Bavarians have this season is set pieces. Of all things, they're very susceptible on set pieces.
Upamecano being one of the Bayern players that if he does get a yellow card won't be available for the second leg. Taking a look at Real Madrid, what we'll be seeing from them in this one, guys.
Transition, fast, on the break. I mean, Nico, do you agree with me when I say it's control against chaos? moments against management.
I do think it's a moment's team.
They're a moment's team, aren't they?
Real Madrid. On paper, you look at Militao and you look at Rudiger and you say, all right, they have their players back, they're good. I think obviously having Militao gives a little bit more security to the back line, but in reality, just defensively, Real Madrid hasn't been great. They often leave that space between Carreras and whoever the left center back is exposed, and just considering how lethal Bayern, they haven't been shut out once this season.
And also as well, how much protection? Carreras we know is vulnerable.
Then Güler in front of him.
Nothing.
Yeah, or if that's Jude, we don't know, right? There's so many questions still about how Real Madrid is going to shape up for this. But it's like, do we think Bayern's going to walk away scoreless from the Bernabeu?
I don't think so. I think a lot of that, Nico, is going to be dependent on Harry Kane and his fitness. And you posed a question about how fit is he?
Even if he plays, how fit is he?
I think an 80% fit Harry Kane is better than the large majority of strikers in world football.
I agree. Look, and they were only friendlies for England, so he's not going to take a chance. He rested half the team against Freiburg as well, so great game. Great game.
Real quick, Nico, do you think one of these teams comes out a bit stronger than the other, like really going all in the first leg here?
I think Bayern is very confident in who they are. I think they're going to go after Real Madrid. That doesn't mean that Real Madrid isn't going to recognize those moments, smell the opportunity, and go for it as well. Because if they defend for 90 minutes, they might lose by several goals. Real Madrid wants to walk out of the Bernabeu alive. I think even if they get a draw at home, I think they walk out of this reinforcing, let's go again. We can go in the Allianz and get it done and surprise them there.
I think they'll go for it, Nico, first leg. I think they'll really go for it.
Lamine Yamal was a bit frustrated with things not working for him in that one, but he is only getting better and better after last season. Lamine Yamal, in 41 appearances this season across all competitions, he has scored 21 goals and delivered 15 assists. So taking in the season as a whole, Nico, for Lamine Yamal, how have you seen the growth of this 18-year-old this season?
He's hitting peak Lamine Yamal that he hit last season in the Champions League semifinal. But before we get to that, I think we do need to acknowledge what happened to him over the international break. The derogatory, discriminative, anti-Muslim chants that were not directed specifically at him, the Egyptian national team, still very wrong, but obviously him as being an observer of the Islamic faith. Obviously, it takes a toll on you when your own countrymen are discriminating you like this. I feel like this is like prime territory for Lamine Yamal to score a goal and bow down and do the sujood to like just in the face of all the haters. Like, I'm going to use my prayer and my gestures to be the bigger man here. That would be very cool. Not that he has to do it, but it would be like a very cool in-your-face moment. I feel like it would be so Lamine Yamal. Regardless, moving on. I think Lamine, his creativity, his imagination is encapsulated in the nutmeg of, who was it? It was
Nico Gonzalez.
Nico Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Absolutely cooked him.
Yeah.
The meg, and then
The pass.
It's the pass, Jeff, but it's not only the pass and the weight of the pass, putting Fermín López in one-on-one. There's no second touch in between the nutmeg and the pass. He nutmegs to get around the player, and then he's just put in a position where first time, boom, Trivela passed to Fermín López. And if Fermín was on his day, Lamine Yamal would have had 2 assists, and he would have been a key player influence in the Atletico Madrid match. To answer your question, he's hitting the right form at the right time.
Yeah, I think we're seeing the most talented player in world football. He's a game changer. He decides games, and he could decide this very tie. He'll have to decide this first leg for Barcelona. He'll be one of the key players, no doubt.
For all the strengths that Barcelona has in this one, Atletico Madrid, as we've been talking about for the past couple days, has a lot of strengths of their own. So Lehu, walk us through each position and tell us who has the edge in this one.
Okay, so it's going to be divided up by backline, goalkeeping position, midfield, attack, managers, and of course the intangibles. So from the top, goalkeeping and backline, I'm going to give it to Barcelona. Barcelona, because Joan Garcia, and this was pretty tight for me.
Nico doesn't like this.
Joan Garcia, I know, that's why I did it. Joan Garcia has been excellent this season.
Yeah, like against Atletico Madrid when the ball just rolled under him in the Copa del Rey.
It was the field. It was his worst game of the season, right? But
The defense that leaves lagoons of space
the
in
reason why I
behind.
say the back line is Joao Cancelo. Joao Cancelo, he sent Thiago Almada back to the training room. Absolutely cooked him. Midfield for me, I hope this isn't an argument. I don't think there's a debate. Barcelona, any team that has Pedri, Fermin, Lopez, I wouldn't expect to see maybe Eric Garcia in the midfield. Barcelona has a better midfield. Attack, this one was interesting. I still have question marks about which Lewandowski we're going to see. And because I put Fermin in the midfield, I actually went with Atleti. Julian's hitting form. Sorloth is a Barcelona killer, right? Antoine Griezmann. The last time these two sides met in the Champions League, Antoine Griezmann decided it. And manager Hansi Flick is who I'm picking. Hansi Flick outsmarted Cholo, although there was a red card in the recent match. I think last time they played completely outsmarted Atleti. Intangibles, I'm going to give it to Atleti because in knockout competition, Cholo just has a way of getting under manager skins. And after the final whistle, he grabbed Hansi Flick's hand and said, "Don't forget, you still have to come here." So the mind games have already begun.
I think the biggest thing I agree there is the intangibles, and I feel Atleti will come off of that field from the weekend feeling, listen, we played for 45 minutes with 10 men, we gave them a really, really close ride, I couldn't agree more about Lamine Yamal. I mean, he's absolutely mesmerizing. He's breathtaking to watch at the moment. He's arguably the most exciting footballer in world football. But you've got a matchup of two very, very different styles. I think this is this is a hard game to call.
Yeah.
We need an expert's opinion on this.
Well, let's bring him in, our CBS Sports La Liga correspondent, Guillaume Balaguer, who will be on the sidelines for this big matchup. Guillaume, always on the go here. What do you think of what Lahoud had to put together about who's got the edge, especially in the attack? Do you agree that it's Atleti who is stronger in the attack in this one? No. No.
Guillaume, throw me a bone here.
No, what you've got in favour is that their main star of Atletico Madrid score more goals in the Champions League than the main star of Barcelona. Julian Alvarez has done better in the Champions League than Lamine, he has. The thing is, though, any team that has got Lamine Yamal has to be considered the best attack, perhaps with the exception of, or closest to PSG and Bayern Munich. You described Lamine Yamal. Let me tell you one thing. I think I know why he was upset. I think I've got the insight of why he was upset. And it has to do with his own coaching staff. De La Fuente, the goalkeeper coach and the specialist on set pieces, didn't like the fact that coming to the last 10-15 minutes of the game with 1-1, that Lamine, instead of passing the ball, and he had Ferran Torres and Lewandowski in the box, actually shot. And turned around and he saw De La Fuente just going like that, and you should have done this. Oh my God, that put him off completely. To such a point that not only he didn't celebrate the goal of Lewandowski, which was with 2 or 3 minutes to go until the end of the game, and a key victory for Barcelona, considering that it's almost like a league win. He didn't speak to Hansi Flick, or didn't shake his hand, and then when De La Fuente came close to him, he didn't watch up to him either. But same as the insults the Muslim insults that were thrown from the stands at the Cornellà, a little bit is like water of the dog's back for him. So the thing that upset him, the next day is gone. In fact, the next day he was in the Kings League taking a penalty for his team. And in the Kings League, as you know, he's the president of one of the teams, and one of the rules that the president can take a penalty. And he was there explaining Cancelo what the Kings League is about. So I think he just moves on very quickly, but he was upset because somebody was questioning his decision on the pitch.
Well, that is genuine insight, Guillaume. So that solves a lot of our questions. So how do you see, though, the point that we make, that you can't just assess Atleti on the individual parts? It's the sum of the parts when assessing Atleti?
Yeah, that takes you to the possibility of winning games, but you need that individual, one or two, the goalkeeper, the striker, the Griezmann, if you like, to actually take the game or the team to another level. Without that, they won't go far. And it is true that in the two quarterfinals where they met Barcelona before in 2014 and 2016, it was such a solid team, such a strong team that that could even overshadow the individuals, if you like. But this is not a very strong individual team. It's 19 points, very strong team. It's 19 points away in the league to Barcelona. They commit mistakes at the back. They don't always control games, and they're not always very effective up front. So they're going to need their individuals, but certainly also their best version collectively, which, by the way, they did do in the first leg of the Cup, and they did do in the league in the first 45 minutes. This is a team that I think tomorrow there will be only 4 players that played at the weekend that will repeat. So it was second tier of Atletico Madrid, and they did that very well. Hence, of course, and you mentioned it already, it was interesting how, as you called it, mind games, how Simeone told Hansi Flick, you've got to come back, meaning, do not feel confident that having beaten the CS is the full story.
Guillem, I think you could look at the individuals for Atletico Madrid in a positive light and in a negative light, that they can be the difference makers, because you have a lot of quality, and I don't need to mention beyond Julian and Griezmann, we know those names. But I'm looking at the left-back situation. Nico Gonzalez ain't it. Ruggeri, I don't think is it either. And that position right there is the one that primarily needs to deal with Lamine Yamal. So how do you think Cholo outsmarts or reinforces as to not be so exposed in that area of the pitch?
Yeah, it's not going to be easy, and it's going to be a team thing. Of course, midfielders are going to have to work very hard. You're going to have Koke in that midfield and that part of the pitch, possibly. So we'll have to have the full backs, and whoever plays the front as well will have to track back. It's going to be one of them where everybody knows Barcelona's weaknesses are, with at the back of the defenders. So they will defend deep, compact, and they will kill any space to anybody. But there are things you cannot plan. You cannot plan on Lamine Yamal doing some of the things that he did against Atletico Madrid, dribbling by just moving his body sometimes. And then perhaps he doesn't finish his actions as well as he should at this level. Still, he can improve. But you cannot plan against that. You just got to be well structured. And whoever it is that plays on the left-hand side, and that's one of the doubts. The other one, perhaps, who goes alongside Koke, will it be Llorente, or is Llorente preferred as right back? We'll have to see. But in any case, what Atletico Madrid, Barcelona is going to find. One, that they will not concede space, and they will try to attack the kind of defensive problems of Barcelona, especially when they are attacking constantly. They've got long periods of possession, and then the gaps appear, especially in the back.
Guillem, I'm going to keep mine very simple. When you look at these two managers, they're two of the best managers in the world, right? They're in the upper echelon in world football. Which manager is going to be under more pressure to get the result?
From Lamine Yamal, his own manager. They better go as far as they can, because otherwise he'll be upset for a long time. This will be one that he will not forget. He's got his head into winning the Champions League. But in terms of pressure within the institution, Hansi Flick is going to renew his contract, and as he said, he will retire after leaving Barcelona. That is the last job of his career, and one that everybody is enjoying. He has taken Barcelona from the old DNA of being a possession-based football into transitional football, and nobody's saying anything because they are winning, and it's spectacular in the way they're doing it. Simeone, on the other hand, Atletico Madrid has got a new owner, or main shareholder in Apollo, one of the biggest funds in the world, with a lot of money that they're going to put into the side. And they put a director of football that is putting pressure into Simeone, but he will certainly stay one more year, perhaps even renew his contract. He will leave whenever he wants. It's just that the new owners, they looked at the new stadium, they look at the squad, and by the way, have a look at the bench of Atletico Madrid. 5 players there that could start almost any team in Europe or the top European sides. And they're starting to say to him, third in the league is not enough. Quarterfinals in the Champions League is the minimum, but you could do more. So that pressure is certainly on Simeone, which doesn't mean that they're going to push him out, but it means that he's going to have to perhaps, again, change the mentality of the team. They're very comfortable finish third or fourth. It's not enough. And winning titles is what Apollo, Matteo Alemany, and the new owners want.
Arsenal's internal shakeup continues, and the latest departure signals that the restructuring behind the scenes is far from over. James Ellis has stepped down from his role as technical director just 7 months after being promoted. According to BBC Sport, Ellis, who only took on the position last August after serving as head of recruitment, has now left the club amid what appears to be a wider internal overhaul. His exit doesn't come in isolation. In December, Arsenal appointed former Napoli executive Maurizio Micheli to a senior recruitment role, a move widely seen as part of the club's long-term structural reset. Just months earlier, Andrea Berta had been confirmed as sporting director, effectively replacing Edu Gaspar. That appointment alone signaled a new era. Now, with Ellis gone, the transformation feels even more deliberate. Ellis joins Edu and former CEO Vini Venkatesham among high-profile departures from the Emirates hierarchy. Both Edu and Venkatesham moved on to new roles. Edu taking on a global director of football position at Nottingham Forest, and Venkatesham joining Tottenham. However, neither situation appears entirely stable. Edu's time at the City Ground has reportedly been turbulent. Nottingham Forest's dramatic drop in form since his arrival has raised serious questions about the project's direction, and indications suggest his tenure there may not last much longer. Meanwhile, at Tottenham, Venkatesham has come under intense scrutiny from Spurs supporters, particularly for his initial backing and continued support of Thomas Frank, even as results and performances deteriorated from December onward. Eventually, Igor Tudor was appointed interim manager, and his first match in charge came in the most demanding fixture possible, the North London derby against Arsenal. Despite having just 7 days in the job, the 47-year-old Tudor understands the magnitude of the occasion and the adversity he's facing. "We trained with 13 players," Tudor admitted. "That's the reality. It's not ideal, but in moments like this, the challenge becomes even greater. And so does the opportunity to succeed." He added confidently, "We will have 13 players ready, and that's more than enough to achieve what we want on Sunday. I understand the importance of this match. It's a North London derby. Everyone expects 3 points from us. We are aware of that." Arsenal, however, arrive at the derby carrying frustration of their own. Consecutive draws against Wolves and Brentford have slowed their momentum, and Mikel Arteta made it clear there could not be a better fixture to respond. "It's the next game, and it's the one we're most excited to play," Arteta said. "If we could play today, we would. We have to use that feeling in our stomach the right way, and show it on Sunday." There are also selection decisions looming. Despite Eberechi Eze scoring 3 times in the reverse fixture, his place in midfield is no longer guaranteed. Competition has intensified, particularly after positive fitness updates on Kai Havertz and Martin Odegaard, both capable of operating in similar roles. "We'll have to wait until tomorrow," Arteta said cautiously, "but there's a strong possibility that both of them will be available." With tension rising both on and off the pitch, this derby feels bigger than usual. Arsenal are reshaping their leadership structure. Tottenham are battling instability, and both clubs are searching for momentum at a crucial stage of the season. Sunday won't just be about 3 points. It's about direction, identity, and control in North London. The broader picture, however, stretches beyond one derby or one boardroom exit. What is unfolding at Arsenal is a defining phase, a moment where structural decisions off the pitch could shape the club's competitiveness for years to come. The departure of James Ellis raises natural questions about continuity and recruitment strategy. Arsenal have invested heavily in building a data-driven, modern scouting network over the past few seasons. Under Mikel Arteta's leadership, recruitment has largely aligned with a clear footballing identity: younger profiles, tactical intelligence, technical security, and long-term resale value. Now, with Maurizio Micheli and Andrea Berta positioned as key figures, the club appears to be centralizing authority even further. For supporters, the concern isn't necessarily change. It's instability. Frequent turnover at executive level can create uncertainty during crucial transfer windows. With the summer approaching and expectations growing after consecutive near-title pushes, Arsenal cannot afford missteps in squad planning. Rivals are strengthening. Margins are thin. Every decision matters. On the pitch, the North London derby carries added psychological weight. Arsenal's recent draws against Wolves and Brentford weren't just dropped points. They dented momentum at a critical juncture of the season. Title races are often defined by response, how quickly a team reacts after disappointment. Arteta understands that narrative. Privately, there is belief within the squad that performances have not dipped as sharply as results suggest. Arsenal have maintained strong possession metrics, defensive structure, and chance creation numbers in recent matches. The issue has been efficiency, converting control into decisive moments. Against Tottenham, that margin for waste disappears. For Spurs, the situation feels even more volatile. Igor Tudor's interim appointment reflects urgency rather than long-term planning. Training sessions with limited numbers underline the squad's injury struggles, and depth will be tested against one of the league's most organized sides. Yet derby matches rarely follow logic. Emotional intensity often overrides tactical predictability. Another layer to the story is the competitive landscape at the top of the table. With Manchester City and Liverpool maintaining relentless standards, any slip can reshape the standings instantly. Arsenal know that draws at this stage can feel as damaging as defeats. The pressure is no longer about proving progress. It's about delivering silverware. Internally, Arteta's message has reportedly been direct. Block out external noise. The boardroom reshuffle, media speculation, and scrutiny around player selection cannot bleed into matchday focus. Leadership inside the dressing room, particularly from senior figures, becomes crucial in moments like this. There is also anticipation around the possible return of Kai Havertz and Martin Odegaard. Their availability would not only boost tactical flexibility, but also restore leadership and composure in key phases of play. If both are fit, Arteta faces a selection dilemma, but one he would welcome. In North London, perception shifts quickly. One result can calm doubts or intensify them. A victory would reassert Arsenal's authority, silence questions about momentum, and reinforce belief in the current project despite executive turnover. A setback, however, would amplify concerns about consistency at the worst possible time. Ultimately, this is a convergence of narratives, structural change, title ambition, squad depth challenges, and historic rivalry. The derby will not define the entire season, but it will send a message. And right now, both clubs are desperate to control that message.